Hey guys and girls, welcome to this week's episode of the No BS with Birchy podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Birchy. This is a show unraveling the truth to the facade of the 21st century. We're now exiting the matrix and waking up to motherfucking reality. Today, I'm going to talk about buyer's agents. What are they? Do you need one? What do they do? How can you benefit from them? Is there good ones? Is there bad ones? What you should be looking for before you get yourself engaged with a buyer's agent. So let's jump straight into what is a buyer's agent. For those of you that aren't aware, you've got real estate agents that go and sell the property for you, but you don't have someone that comes and looks after the buyer. And going back about 15 years ago, I started B.Invested. And at that period of time, there was about a half a dozen buyer's agents in the country, right? And I remember when I first started the business, people were like, what the fuck, you want me to pay you a fee to buy the property? I can go and buy one myself, right? And I'd always be like, okay, go buy it yourself, right? And they come back and they're like, oh, which one should I buy? What's good about this property? Like, see, you don't have the expert advice on it, right? So back in the day, there was about a half a dozen buyer's agents out there in the country. And it was very weird back in the day because we had to sort of explain what we did and what a buyer's agent was. But as time has progressed, especially in the last 5 years, every man and his dog is a buyer's agent out there nowadays, which I think as an industry is cool because it's an industry that I've seen right at the beginning when there was only half a dozen players out there, and it's evolved and it's a very common thing. It's like, oh, are you a buyer's agent? It's like, yeah, you were a buyer's agent. Oh, great, right? But in that, it does come with its own things that you need to watch out for, and do you really need one? Can you do a better job yourself, et cetera, et cetera. So why is there so many buyer's agents out there today? I don't know much about this thing, right? But there's these courses on how you can build a 6-figure passive income, join up to my course, become a buyer's agent, right? And there's these courses out there which educate people on how to be a buyer's agent. When I became a buyer's agent, there was no such thing. There was no buyer's agent, right? It was I had to get a license to be acting in the property industry, but that was it. So it was a very different world. And all these buyer's agents today, I look at them and I think, what are they actually providing? Where is the value? And some buyer's agents out there are tremendous, right? Some have got decades and decades of experience, right? And some of them that I respect myself very well. I've worked closely with them over the years. But I'd say 98% of the industry, they don't even own a house. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They've got scripts, they've got dialogues, they've been to a course and they all sound the same, look the same, put the same marketing out there. They have glossy videos and all of those sorts of things. So you need to really make sure that when you're engaging a buyer's agent, if you choose to go down that road, that you're choosing the right one. There's questions that you should be asking the buyer's agent, and getting a good understanding of who it is that you're engaging. So I guess if we go back a moment though and think about what is the benefit of a buyer's agent and sort of why did I become a buyer's agent going back 15 years ago, and what did I bring to the table, which I don't see today being brought to the table. Looking at what I brought to the table, right, I always thought to myself, when I'm buying a property, right, if I'm buying it below market value, good upside for growth, strong cash flow, I'm providing someone with an asset that's an asset that I would pick for my own personal portfolio. And my personal portfolio has performed very well for me over the last 20 years, 21 years, and been able to make me retire, right? That's what I did. I retired and property was the vehicle that got me there. So I looked at it and I thought, if someone's buying a property and I can locate the deal and get the price down from 250 grand down to 200 grand, you got 5 units in the same block, 5 houses in the same street that are all selling for 250, and I've picked one up for 200, and I'm picking it up below 50 grand below market value. Someone pays us a fee, they're making 50K by doing the deal, right? I'm just using that as an example of a number. But when I'm doing a transaction, someone's immediately getting a result out of it, right? And I remember back in the early days when no one knew what a buyer's agent was, they're like, oh, can you do a fee cheaper or whatever? And I'd always joke, and I had like maybe 2 or 3 people take me up on the offer and they kind of regretted it in the future. But I'd say to them, that's fine, I won't charge you a fee at all. Don't offend me by trying to negotiate on a fee. I'm a professional negotiator, right? That's what my job is to do. But if you want to negotiate, I'll just go you half in the equity or half in the profit. And they're like, I'm not going to split the profit with you. I was like, well, you're making 50K today, right? You're paying a fee, right? It felt really good as building the business that when someone does business with me, I'm immediately paying dividends on the fee that we're charging, right? So that's where the value was there. There's lots of other buyer's agents out there which, they find you the home, right? So there might be people that are, wanting to buy a house to live in. They don't have the connections. They don't have the time. They don't have the ability to go and negotiate. They don't have the confidence, right? And if you fuck it up and you're spending $1 million on a property, it's a pretty big fuck up, right? So you want to have someone there that's, able to guide you and stop you from taking a bullet and be able to push you where you need to be pushed. So you either have an investment sort of buyer's agent or you have an owner-occupied buyer's agent. For me personally, I help some people buy houses to live in, but I'm predominantly an investor, right? I run my firm. I don't say an investment firm. It's called B.Invested for a reason, right? Because we invest. But property is my favorite go-to. But I'm very much looking at it from an investment psyche and an investment point of view as what is this property going to be bringing to the table for me? How's it going to help me get to my next financial milestone that I'm going to hit? So, looking at, the benefits of using a buyer's agent, I've done 15,000 plus transactions, right? It could be 20,000 transactions. Now I'm just saying 15,000 because it was the last time I checked. It's been pretty strong, right? So being a part of all these transactions, I've got relationships with agents. I think about it like, who remembers Law and Order, that Criminal Intent, right? You've got that Detective Gorin and he'd knock on the door, right? And the person will open the door and they're like, oh, fuck, it's a cop. And they try and shut the door. He puts his foot in the door and slides the warrant through the crack of the door. And I'll look at it when I'm doing deals, right? There's been times, right? If I go back to a market cycle, I remember this agent, my history, right? When I first left school, I thought rich people are real estate agents. I want to be a real estate agent, right? And I went and became a real estate agent for like a year or two, and it was like the shittest job that I could ever imagine, right? But I understood how they worked and stuff like that. I realized most real estate agents don't own properties. It's a tough gig. I had more fun working in a pub than what it is being a real estate agent, right? But this real estate agent that I worked with, right? So we had rapport there, screwed me on a few deals. We bought heaps and heaps of properties, right? And they were great, right? It was the Southwestern Sydney agent. And the market got hot, right? This was like 08, 09. Market was a bit soft. 2010, 11 and 12, right? 11 and 12, the market was getting quite heated out there. And it was like buying in the Gold Coast in 2023, 2024, buying in Western Sydney in 2011 or 12. It was like very hot. And this agent fucked me on deals, right? Screwed me. I'd do a deal that, it wasn't a time where you'd have DocuSign, you could push a button and realestate.com and stuff like that. They literally, had to go to the property, print out the contract, sign it, all that sort of stuff. And tech hadn't caught up. Emails weren't as good as what they are today. You didn't have videos and socials and all that. And this agent screwed me on a half dozen deals. And I looked at it and I said, listen, if you fuck me on one more deal, you delete my number, never talk to me again, never talk to my staff again. And they screwed me on a deal. And I said, never talk to me again, right? Until this time, we've never spoken again, right? And I probably made, a lot of their sales in that area and at that period of time. And I made sure that in my relationships with my agents, I give them value, right? And I'm quite often working on deals in markets when the markets are soft, not when they're, hot, right? So I have a lot of pull in markets, right? You go into the market, you go, okay, I've dealt with B.Invested, I've dealt with Nathan, I've dealt with one of his team, right? And still to this day, I do most of the deals that I buy for my investors, right? And when a market gets hot, I, meet with the agents and say to them, hey, the market's getting hot. Just want to throw it out there. We've had a great time, or the market's been bad. You're the number one real estate agent in your network or your franchise group or whatever the case may be. You didn't just end up there, right? Like, let's be honest about it. We've done lots of deals. You've got me stuff that's cheap, all that sort of stuff. When the market turns hot, if you fuck me, our relationship's dead. And I keep my relationships very strong. I get calls about deals before they go to market. I get things that are off market. I get deals when there's 20 other buyers on it and, they might be trying to offer more. I still get it for the price that I want to get it for, right? So those relationships that I've built up over 21 years of being an investor are very, very important to be able to get the deals in any sort of market cycle. So when I look at buyers agents out there, do they have the relationships with the agents? Do they have the ability, the pull, the purchasing power? the ability, right? When I'm in a market, I'm active in that market, people know who the fuck we are, right? They know what they're dealing with, and they're like, no, that's for Birchy, right? So what is the relationships that you've got? What are the networks that your buyer's agent has, right? So I look at the market today, and you've got buyer's agents out there might do a deal here or there, and they say, what do you want for your property, right? And I don't know. I've never spoken. I literally to this day, I know the first half dozen buyer's agents that were in the country, and we've got different views and different types of properties and similar sort of aspects of how we look at property. But I look at these buyer's agents now, and I just hear the stories that come from like, oh, what do you want to buy in a property? Oh, I want to buy a house on a land. Okay, how about this one, right? And literally, they're like a lunch lady at the school canteen. You tell them, I want this, and then they go and get the order and they bring it to you, right? And it's like, is that the right thing to get you to where you need to be? And I think it's important to understand when you're speaking to a buyer's agent, find out what amount of deals they're doing out there, right? What markets they're looking into, how many deals are they getting off market, how many properties do they own themselves, right? I'm always very transparent with what I do, what I'm doing. If I have a problem, and I'm talking to my clients sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, hey, I've got a situation at the moment, whatever. I'm very open. I'm always, since the day I started making my YouTube videos, I'm telling you how many properties I got, what I'm buying, adversity that I've got, whatnot. What do these people have, right? Do they have the ability? Do they know about a renovation? Ask them technical things. What happens with the economy? What happens if interest rates? What happens if this? What's happening in the financial markets, right? You want to make sure that you've got the right people on your team that are going to be able to get you there. I think most importantly is that if you are an investor, right, and you want to build wealth in property investing, right, and you're using a buyer's agent for that, how many clients does the buyer's agent have that have retired, right? What is the average amount of properties a client would have of the buyer's agent, right? How many properties a year does the average client buy through that buyer's agent? Are they saying they buy one a year or one every 5 years? Okay. How many years have you been in business, right? I've been in business for 3 years. Wow, you bought someone 3 properties in 3 years. Good on you, right? I've bought someone 5 properties once. I bought someone 10 properties, right? Is it an anomaly? How do they light up? Do they say, oh, you can't buy 5 properties. You can't buy 20 properties in 2 years. If they haven't done it, they're not going to be able to do it for you. They don't have the mental capacity to be able to do it and perform that task for you, right? Do they have the skill set, the network, the understanding of all the things that come to the table to make that portfolio happen, right? So as a buyer's agent myself, I don't want to go and take on everyone as a client out there. Like I'm very, protective of time, energy, and resources to invest in the people because we want to make sure that the people. I always remember back in the early days, I'd see these people, and there might be a dickhead, right, and they've got no money, and there might be a nice person, and they've got no money, right? And you put a little bit of wealth in them, you add a little bit of success, and it amplifies whatever they are. So if they're a nice person, they do bigger, nicer things, right? If they're a wanker, they turn into a bigger wanker, right? And I want to make sure that when I'm working with people, that we're working with the right people that we're going to have a good, sustainable relationship with, right? And a lot of buyer's agents out there, there's a lot of them that are clients, previous clients, people that have worked for me out there as well that are cool. I don't know what they're doing, but, I was talking to one the other day and there was a lot of gratitude from this buyer's agent, right? And it was like, thank you so much for helping me out 10 years ago. Thank you so much. I wouldn't have been here where I am today. And, there's a lot of compassion there, right? But there's a lot of people out there that are like heroes. They walk the talk. They try and say the right things or whatever. But they're a wolf in a sheep's clothing. I think it's called a wolf in a sheep's clothing. I don't know, right? Maybe correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, right? I think it's a wolf in a sheep's clothing. But you need to make sure that the person or the group or the company that you're working with has the ability, the character, the sustainability to help you reach your goals. Not everyone wants 20, 30, 40, 50 properties in their portfolio. That's cool. I have lots of investors that I bought 1 or 2 properties for over the years, right? And they're very happy with the properties, right? I actually had a client yesterday, new client come on board. She's a girlfriend of a client that I bought for 10 years ago, not 10 years, maybe 6 years ago. And I was talking to him, and I'll say hi if you're watching, right? And he said, I bought this property. It's gone up, tripled in value. It's done great. I can't do anything else at the moment. I want my girlfriend to buy half a dozen properties. And it's like, everybody's journey is different. It doesn't mean you have to go and buy 20 properties, right? But does the person that you're working with have the ability, the understanding, the knowledge, the capacity, the experience to be able to get you the result? If we take this to the property management route, right, when it comes to managing a property, always think to people, like, if you think about it, right, like, let's say $400 a week rent, and you're paying 7% management fee, that'd be $28 per week, right? If you're paying 8%, that'd be an extra 1% on 400. That'd be $4 extra per week, right? I see all these dumbasses, right? And no offense if you're one of these people that are like cheap and fucking worrying about every cent. And it's important to worry about every cent, right? But hear me out. I see these people that are trying to cut a corner, right? And they're like, I'm going to manage the property myself, right? I've got a funny story to share with you on that. But like, people are trying to go, oh, this one here, I'll spend the extra 1%, or they don't care, or they care. If the rent is $300 per week and you're paying 7%, or if you're getting $400 per week and you're paying 8%, I'll fucking pay you 10% to get me the extra result, right? So you want to make sure that you're getting the result. If that agent is charging you $0 and they're getting you $300 per week, they're not even worth not paying them, right? Because I'd rather pay the extra and get that. So I had this client, right? And he bought some properties off me a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 properties, and they'd all doubled and tripled in the Gold Coast and that. And I asked him, like, oh, let's go through the rents, right? So the first thing I do in a portfolio review is I look at all the assets, want to make sure you got them all still, you haven't sold anything. And then we look at, the rents, the values, your loans, all that sort of stuff. And I asked him, like, who's managing and what are the rents? And he goes, oh, I've got 2 with Blink, and the tenant's been there for 10 years, and I've had her for like 4 years, and she's very good. I just manage that myself. I couldn't be bothered paying the fucking 7%, right? Legit. That's how it went down, right? Pretty much verbatim. And I was like, oh, what rent do you get? He said he gets $350 per week. He put it up from $300, right? I'm like, mate, that's a $700 a week rent, right? He's like, nah, I can't put it up to $700. She's a great tenant, $350. It's like, she's paying really good rent. I said, mate, here's some comparable rentals. There's nothing under $650 in the suburb. And here we are at $700 a week. And he's like, oh, yeah, I better look into that. And I think he knew that he was fucking silly, but I don't think he wanted to admit it, right? But, the point being is, cut corners sometimes, things happen. When it comes to a buyer's agent, when it comes to a property advisor or an investment expert out there, be very cautious, right? There's a few things to be aware of, right? You've got buyer's agents out there, which will help you. Right? You're paying them to work on your behalf to make sure that you're getting the best result to your position, right? I reckon 95% of them don't have the capacity to, right? Because the conversations that I've had with them are really elementary and immature sort of conversations. I'm like, wow, that's pretty bad, right? Do you own any property? Oh, I'm going to get my first one next year. Oh, good on you, right? I'll give you a star, right? But when you are employing a buyer's agent, there's some tremendous buyer's agents out there that do very good jobs, right? There's also the other aspect of it where you don't have to pay anything, right? You can go and do it yourself. Do the research, right? Find a property. Go and look into a market. I remember when I first started investing, I remember there was an article I did, a TV interview, and they go, how much time do you spend? I was like, well, probably spend about 8 hours a day researching property markets for me to get into the markets. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't think anything of it at the time. But I literally, the data that I pull for these locations, when I go to them, when I enter a location, when I exit a location, the data is imperative for me to be able to, and it's not all just data that can be automatically generated or computer simulated or AI, right? It's all these AI people talking about AI, property investing, all a load of crap. It's like having bumper bowling on a bloody AMF lane, right? You throw the bumper bowl on, you're going to hit something, right? But you want to knock out all the pins. So it's best to have the right aim to get the bullseye. But there's, you can go buy a property yourself, right? But is that property going to be the right asset that you need for your portfolio? Is that going to be at the right price? Are you paying market price? Are you paying overprice? I've got a new client, buying him. I've bought him maybe 6 properties in the last 4 months or so. Bought like 2 and then 4. And after we bought the first 2, we're having a chat, a bit of a review, catch up, making sure everything's all cool, and telling him where to pull the equity out from, where to push the rent up to. He said, I'm working in this location and there's a property here and I can buy it for 180 grand, 200 grand, something like that. And rents for $700 a week. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool, but I want to see all the financials. And he goes, it's great. It's this. And I looked at it and I was like, mate, that's a motel room. That's a motel room. And I said, what's the strata like? He goes, I don't know. It's really lovely, right? It's really lovely property. I was like, what's the strata fee? It was like $25,000 a year in strata fees, right? And I'm like, well, there's fucking half the issue. Secondly, you can't get a loan for the thing, right? And we're going through and he's like, yeah, I'll really fuck myself. I was like, would have fucked ourselves, right? So looking at it like, go buy a property, go do it yourself. I didn't have a buyer's agent, but I spent all the time, effort, energy becoming the expert for myself to be able to do it. There's a lot of investors that, I've got people that write me emails and say, Birchy, I've been following your stuff. I've got this area. I've got a guy in New Zealand, right? I've pulled him onto a podcast. He flew over to Australia and did a podcast. And he got like 51 properties and he's like 24 years old. I don't know anything about New Zealand, right? But he used a strategy that I use here in Australia and applied it in New Zealand, right? So fucking kudos to him, right? He's done great, phenomenal. I've seen him. He's checked in every couple of years or every year or so. He's like, Nathan, blah, blah, blah. We have little chats. So I've seen him build his portfolio from the ground up, right? Done a tremendous job on it. So you can do it yourself, right? But the part to be really, really cautious of is that there's these investment advisors out there. I've seen them over the years. They did granny flats back in the day. They did renovation properties back in the day. They did brand new off the plan properties. They did DHA style. I'm not saying DHA, let's put anything in there as a saying these are bad, right? But when DHA are defense housing and they have like a guaranteed rental. So anything that's got a guaranteed rental in it, I'll watch with caution. And anything that's a brand new property. And I'll tell you why. Quite often, I see these people that have like cashbacks and have a big check, right? A big novelty check. And they go, we got 20 grand back from buying the property or whatever. And it's like, you're buying a brand new property. It's like buying a brand new car, right? As soon as you drive it out of the showroom, you are losing a percentage of the value. You're paying overpriced for it. So I reckon 90% of the time when I buy a property, I'm buying it cheaper than what some poor bastard paid for it 10 years ago, right? So if I'm buying a property 90% of the time that's cheaper than what it was 10 years ago, some might say, it's a bad investment, right? Why'd you buy it for? But I'm buying it. I always think it's like a surrogate parent. They've held the property, taken through all the pain, and now they're giving it to me and saying, here you go, here's my asset, go take it off me, right? So I'm buying a property that someone paid brand new for 10 years ago for 300, and I'm buying it for 200, and then the market instantly goes up to 400. It's just that person had weak hands, right? I'm not trying to be all like, Gen fucking millennium and talking about diamond hands here, right? But I've heard of this term diamond hands, right? And it's apparently like crypto trading and share trading. When you got diamond hands, you fucking hold through whatever, right? And as an investor, as a property investor, I like to take from the weak hands. The money comes from the weak hands to the strong hands, right? And I see people that are buying properties 10 years ago and selling them cheaper than what they are today. 90% of those properties is what I would buy. And then I look at what a lot of these properties are. A lot of properties that are brand new, when you go buy a brand new property, the salesperson that's selling it to you, where are they getting paid, right? They're not your friend, right? They're not your advisor. They come across as your advisor, but they're getting paid $50,000 commission from the developer, right? So what commission are they getting paid? If they're getting paid a 50 grand commission from the developer, they're working for the developer. They're not working for you, right? So be very cautious of who's getting paid from where and who's under your control and who's not. Where are you getting your advice from? Because free advice, I see so many. The worst ones to see are financial advisors, right? And they sell you these properties. Buy a new one. It's got depreciation. It's new. It's NDIS. It's NRAS. There's another one for you. NRAS. Tell me who the fuck has bought an NRAS property, NRAS. It's the National Rental Affordability Scheme. That's made money. I know no one that has made money from NRAS, right? It was a great hairball idea from the Kevin Rudd, Kevin 07 government, which came out for 5 4 years, 5 years, they built these properties, and if you collected a rent that's less than 20% less than market, then you get a $10,000 a year incentive. So for 10 years or so, you get 10 grand cash back from the government for providing cheap and affordable housing, which all sounds great. But the problem is that these developers saw it as like a little niche, and they're like making all these big commissions and selling these things, and everyone was like, just, it's a Ponzi scheme, right? So when you're buying these properties, is the advisor, if you're buying a brand new property today, brand new, no one's lived in it, the person that's helping you buy that property, your investment advisor or your guidance or whatever, they are getting $50,000, $30,000, $50,000, $80,000. I've seen up to $100,000 in a commission from the developer. I'd say 80% of the time those deals don't stack up. So when the mortgage broker or the bank goes and values a property, they're like, oh, you bought it for 700, the valuation's only 600, you got to put an extra 100 grand in or pull some equity from your principal place of residence, whatever. So be very cautious of who's actually giving you that advice, right? So in short, do you need a buyer's agent? Is a buyer's agent beneficial? 15,000 transactions sort of done for my investors. I've never had anyone come back to me and say, hey, I've lost $1, right? So peace of mind, security, confidence, and you want to make sure your buyer's agent is paying a dividend on the fee you're paying for. If you're paying him 10 grand and you're getting 50 grand back, you're paying him 20 grand, you're getting 50 grand back. Is that a dollar well spent, right? Can you go and do it yourself? Sure, go and do it yourself. Make sure if you are spending the money, doesn't matter if you're spending less or more. I always think to myself, I actually asked some people the other day, like, what do you charge? And they're like, they're charging more than me, right? I'm like, fuck, maybe I should charge some more, right? Some of my fees I charge more because I'm buying blocks of units and different things like that for people. But, doesn't matter what you're paying a buyer's agent. You want to make sure you're getting the result, because a lot of these people, if you're paying them nothing, you're getting further behind the 8 ball than what you are from doing nothing, right? So make sure that whoever's giving you the advice has the capacity, the mental ability, the results on the board to show you, yes, here is 50 people that I've been able to get 10 properties for at least, right? Here's 1,000 people that I've been able to get to retirement, right? And if you've got a good buyer's agent that's there, they would be happy, right? I know sure as fuck, right, out of all the clients that I've dealt with over the years, that there's lots of people out there that are so happy. They don't have, right, my clients don't have a network out of their friends and family, right, that go, yeah, go and buy 20 properties. They're like, why would you buy more than one? You don't need that. Investing's risky, whatever. So having a network around them is crucial, right? It is important. And it's, I feel like half the job I do as a counsellor, right? So when one of my investors, we might have someone saying, hey, can I call someone and speak to a current client or whatever? And we'll be like, hey, speak to this person, right? They're fucking happy to talk to someone, be like, yeah, I've just bought 10 properties. I've bought 5 properties last year and 2 properties this year. Interest rates have been a bit of a slog, but we've pushed rents up, whatever. They'll share their journey, right? Make sure that the buyer's agent, if you cautious or questioning, hey, can I have 3 of your most recent clients that I could speak to about their journey and see, how they fit in like me, right? Could you give me a couple of the details and hook me up just so I can have a chat with them before I come on board with you? If they can't do that, do they even have the clients? Do they have the story? Do they have the results to be able to get you to where you want to be? So just err with caution. Make sure that you're getting someone that's trustworthy, someone that's got the ability to get you there, and just be conscious of who you're dealing with. I remember a few years ago, I'm not going to mention any names here, but I remember there was this slimy haired guy, right? He had like a slick haircut, and it was maybe like 2015 or 16. He came out with a property group, and he was a buyer's agent, and then he did developments out there and ads all over social media, right? I don't do ads, right? I do some videos. They're all fucking, very, raw feeling videos that I give you guys. And they're not like, hi there and welcome to B.Invested, right? They're not like that sort of stuff, right? This guy had these videos and people are like, this guy looks a bit more professional. This guy looks this guy looks this. I'm like, mate, do whatever you want, right? I know how hard it is. And I looked at him one day and I was like, hang on a second. I think this guy's been into my office for a map session. I looked through him like 2 years ago. He owns nothing, right? He's got like 1 property. He's got nothing. He's giving the advice. Anyway, I saw like maybe a year ago or something, he's in massive criminal trouble because of borrowing money, failed developments, all these sorts of things. they don't have the capacity, right? It's not sustainable. Every week it's like, oh, I've got these amount of properties, I've got this, I'm doing this, I'm building this, I'm doing that. It's like, hang on a second, that's unsustainable. I know how hard it is. I know, the hurdles that are there. And yeah, like ultimately a lot of people, right? I think it's like in the tens of millions of dollars people lost, and that was hard-earned money. They handed the money over and they lost it. So just be very, very cautious of who you're doing business with, and make sure that the person, the people, the group, the company has the ability to get you where you are. Make sure that they're comfortable, make sure they're the right fit. And I know I'm not the right fit for everyone. Hey, right? There's lots of people like, oh, Nathan's too harsh for me, he's too rough, he swears or whatever. And I don't mean to offend people, but it just is what it is. And I like to be myself, and I like to make sure that, we've got a very good open relationship, and the people that I work with get amazing results, work well together. And that's what I want to do out of the time that I have here on earth, to be able to work with the people that I want to work with. So yeah, I guess on that note, folks, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. I think there might be a little link in the description where you can click on to have a discovery session with my team, see what options there are, ask some questions, make sure you feel comfortable. Who knows where a conversation goes. So click on the link wherever it is. You can call us 1300 367 925. Email us at admin@B.Invested.com.au. And as always, if you like this, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family, tag them in the description. And you can find us every Thursday, Google Play, Apple Play, Spotify, and YouTube. Take care. Bye for now.
Like Bilal said, man, we stuck in the matrix. This my advice, don't care if you take it. The dollar back to die, soon to be hyperinflated. This my 2 cents, don't care if you save it. Join beat the